Okay, so I'm going to open the meeting. Welcome everyone to the Clean Energy Task Force meeting, July the 20th. This is a special meeting. If folks are on SCTV, welcome to our meeting. Glad to have you. We're going to go straight down our agenda. A reminder for the folks that are just joining in that because this is a special meeting, we cannot divert from our agenda. We will follow it directly. So let's begin. First item on the agenda is public audience. We seem to have one public. Susan, welcome.
Hello.
If there are others on the TV audience, great. The more interest, the better. We like it. Susan, is there anything that you want to discuss, or are you just observing?
I had like just a small piece, to propose, like maybe 5 minutes.
Excuse me, Susan, this is Mark. I think we all know you, but for the broad public audience out there, you should maybe introduce yourself fully.
Okay. So I'm Susan Olson. I live in Simsbury. I'm a member of a group called Citizen Climate Lobby, and they are interested in public policy to promote sustainable energy, and I am interested in having an opportunity to pursue having a declaration of climate emergency from Simsbury. And I thought that the task force would be an excellent body to inform me about how to approach this, having had much experience talking with the Board of Select people, and also an opportunity to become familiar with a tool that we have called En-ROADS, which is a simulator that will help to make concrete what different policies might do to the climate going forward. So this is not something that we can do today, but I wanted to open the possibility of discussing this in the future. We have a relationship with the way that Citizen Climate Lobby works. It has a presence in every district in the United States, and District 5, Johanna Hayes' district, I'm a co-leader. And when we have spoken recently with their office, they were quite impressed with the fact that New Haven and New Britain had declared climate emergencies. And actually New Haven had had endorsed a bill that we feel is very important in making this happen. So we are trying to go to each our hometown and awaken a conversation on that subject. You might have questions. I'm not too articulate, I'm glad to.
You do just fine, Susan. So I think because this is a special meeting,
yeah,
we can't really take that up as a discussion. We can receive your comments.
Okay.
Note them in the record. Certainly invite you to come back and talk to Mark about getting on the agenda for a future meeting.
Great.
And have that discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
I don't think we have any other public.
Nope.
Okay. Let's move on to the minutes then. We all have copies of the minutes that Mark sent out from December 16th. It's been a while since we've met. Does anyone have any input on the minutes? Any comments or corrections, additions or corrections? I've read them and have none myself.
Nope, I don't either. I wrote them.
You wrote them. They must be perfect. There you go. Sherry, anything?
No comment. Looks
right.
Good.
Do we hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes as written?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Do we have a second? Mark?
Can I do that for my own? Sure, I'll second it.
Of course you can. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any objection? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous carry. Good, meeting minutes are approved. Hopefully it will not be this long before we have to consider another set.
Right.
Okay,
I know.
let's keep going. Update on sustainable CT. Sherry, do you want to take that?
Sure. So we just had our first meeting last week since February. And we were in the process of developing and finalizing our goals for the next 2 years or longer, but the certification would have to happen in 2 years if we want to recertify. It's good for 3 years, so in 1 year, almost 1 year has gone by already. We had also had a date to present to the Board of Selectmen these goals back in May, but because of us not having meetings, I had to push that back, and right now it's going to be in September. And that's based on if we can get specifics put together as far as what we really want to accomplish. So we have to have more conversation, but some of the things that are happening are supporting the pollinator pathways efforts, trying to connect them with the community funds that are available through Sustainable Connecticut. In addition to Tom Roy would like for us to explore taking on the challenge of putting together a recommended water usage plan that is a long-term plan. Because of the spike that Aquarian has seen this past month or last month in Simsbury specifically with regards to our water usage. We're also exploring the social media efforts as far as a Facebook page, information on the town website. Right now, it looks like we might have to put that on hold because I think the Facebook page has to be approved by the Board of Selectmen. That's what I found out from Tom the other day, Tom Roy. So we might just table that a little bit, push it back down the road. Our main efforts are going to be around communication, getting the community involved, and putting together a town student committee where we bring in students from all the schools within the Simsbury, such as Westminster, Simsbury High School, Master School, Ethel Walker. Each one of these schools have some type of environmental club already, so we thought rather than try to reinvent the wheel, we can support them, but also maybe bring them together to do something collaboratively, like have them take part in putting together an Earth Day event. Simsbury does not have an official Earth Day event, and I think it's appropriate that our committee, takes something on like that. And involving the students is a perfect way to collaborate with them. And then Mark has been doing a lot of efforts that kind of touch on what Sustainable CT is doing as well as far as the energy efforts with this committee. I took part in a conversation with Mark and Andy O'Brien at the school, but I'll let Mark elaborate on that. And right now, I think that's all I have. That's it. There is one other thing. Mark and I were looking to collaborate on putting together presentations at the library. We were going to start in April, and we were trying to do like an April, May, June, and then maybe a September, October, November. But all of that, is by the wayside now until things open up. So that we'll still want to pursue that, but it will be down the road.
So that, Sherry, you said, well, that's all I have. That was a lot, particularly in a COVID-ravaged world. I'm really impressed with that.
Yeah.
My comment, I have two comments. One of them's a question for that pollinator pathways. Are they at all coordinating with whatever the name of the utility, not the utility, the developer that built the Pioneer Valley Solar or Tobacco Valley Solar? Because there was, as you'll recall, there was some play around pollinator habitat for that. Now, I haven't seen it yet. I go by there pretty frequently, but it might be an interesting tie to an existing business.
Right. I'll have to pull out the information. I did meet with Nancy Grandin. Again, this is back in February or March, the beginning of March. And so I do have information. And Nancy is does a lot. And who knows, she may be far beyond the information I have at this point. What I have could be old. I do want to add, though, just that, the Economic Development Commission is also very involved with the town and the businesses as it relates to the COVID and the impacts it's having on them, as well as other entities being able to get loans. And the Parks and Rec, they've actually, you may have seen that they just recently did some work relating to pollinator pathways as well. But there's a lot of efforts going on. I want to say it's in the Action 2 and those sub-actions as it relates to Parks and Rec, like dealing with aggressive plantings and things of that nature, invasives. And we also connected with the Farmington River Watershed Authority, and I met with them and talked about some resources that are available to us to tap into. And I think that was it. I think that covers most of it.
Cool. So the other comment I'll make is in the library series, which I really like, and I'd be happy to help do a session or a piece of that. Have you considered doing webinars? Because nobody's going to the library.
Doing what?
Webinars. Kind of doing
we could do webinars.
I don't know what the library's got going on with outreach, but I mean, everybody's kind of sitting at home. Rather than wait till they can all come to the library. I don't know. It's just a thought.
It's a great idea. I can reach out to Sherm, and he heads up the Business Resource Center there at the library, and see if maybe we can plan to just start rolling out some webinars in September.
I mean, if you do one and you get 0 people show up, well, okay, you learned something, right?
Right.
We all go home.
What do you think about that, Mark?
You're on mute.
I unmute myself. I think that's a good. I think the library is probably one of the few ways we're going to be able to do any kind of public gatherings that, and involve notifying the. I mean, we can do obviously meetings and stuff on Zoom, but if you're going to open it up to the public, the libraries is a great option. I'm not current on what they're doing right now, what they're offering.
I'm not either.
They're still closed, I believe.
But, but they're working, right? I don't think they're furloughed.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, to that extent, I can't answer.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I mean, if they're working, if they're looking to maintain programs and outreach, they may be thinking about a webinar series of various things, and I don't know.
Okay.
But it's worth making that connection under the auspices of Sustainable CT. Because look, you guys have done an amazing amount of stuff, and I think there are a lot of people in town that would be really blown away by what you've done so far. They probably have never even heard of it.
Right.
It's the old Facebook Simsbury Neighbors Unite comment, where people are notified 50 times about something, and then somebody says, "Well, this has to be publicized. Nobody knows about this." So
right.
I think there's some real opportunity there.
And I don't think we're going to be getting together in large groups for a while.
No.
I agree. Yeah.
No.
Okay,
So,
well, I will focus on that and touch base with Sherm and see what we can come up with.
Cool. Mark, do you want to pick up the next item on the agenda, conversations with the BOE?
Yes. There have been a couple of series of conversations going on. Sherry referred to ones that we've had with Andy O'Brien, who is, I think it's facilities manager, operations manager, I think is his title for the.
Yeah. I think he's business man. Oh no, he's facilities. I think.
Facilities or
Did
operations.
he take over? It was Burke.
Well, Burke was finance. Burke is finance, or.
No, Burke was a business manager.
Okay.
He took over from
Right.
Dave
Andy
Polk.
is Andy is facilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's, overseeing the facilities and the 10-year master plan.
Okay, sorry.
So I know everybody in the Board of Ed has been incredibly busy dealing with, how to reopen schools and even before that, how to get a graduation done, and they're doing phenomenal work. So I don't think they have a lot of bandwidth to spend a lot of time talking with us, but I think we'd like to pick the conversation back up. And in Andy, we've found a really willing partner to consider to talk about things. So he's, I know, been attending some webinars and very interested in, from going back to his role as a teacher, very interested in sustainability and clean energy. So nothing's been decided, but I think actually we'll take this up later in the agenda where we're talking about our plans. But I think one of the things we might consider there is re-engaging and maybe suggesting a couple of things we might do. But let's come back to that.
Yeah.
The other series of discussions, and Mike Tanka really kicked this off, and that is on the topic of electric school buses. The Volkswagen Settlement Fund, which was formed when Volkswagen got caught cheating with diesels. Big settlement, and lots of money went out to the states, including to buy back diesels, but also to fund cleaner vehicles. So there have been 2 rounds of the Volkswagen Settlement Fund in Connecticut. The third is upcoming. And so we had some conversations with Neil Sullivan from the Board of Ed and also with J.R. Salter from Salters. And we got their blessing to do some checking into the whole settlement fund and how we might try to get a school bus grant. And so we did that. There was a program offered by a group called Live Green, and they had a 7-week program on all about electric school buses. It was very well attended, and they organized it. Even that my taking part in that, and I hate to brag, but I graduated with distinction. Got us, I think, 5 points for sustainable CT. So because they had worked out with sustainable CT that we get credit, that we get points for that. So. We learned a lot, and we went back to the Board of Ed and said, this third round of funding is coming up. We know that DEEP was disappointed in the past rounds that there were not a lot of electric school buses. Of the first 2 rounds, only one of the buses that was awarded was electric for Middletown. And so I think the third round will be all about electrification. The grants are very generous. They're 65% of the cost of the bus and the charging infrastructure, which make the economics of getting one of these buses an absolute no-brainer. When you look at the cost of the electric school buses up front are much higher, but you take 65% off of its price and the cost of the charger, and the lower operating costs over time, and it really is attractive. So we posed that idea to the Board of Ed. I think they had some deliberations and decided they do not want to proceed with a grant in this round. The reason being, without a grant like this, the economics are still very challenging. So one bus they see as not being a meaningful solution, and really until they have a solution really for the entire fleet, they don't want to get into that. Just as background, you may know that Salters is in the process of converting our buses to propane. So they're about halfway through our 30 bus fleet. Half of them are propane at this point, and they want to finish with that transition, I think. So we were disappointed that we didn't get to go into this round, but we learned a lot, and we're going to keep at it.
Thank you, Mark. Just woohoo for half solutions, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to I agree with you. There is some discussion in the plan for 2020. One thing to keep in mind as we discuss things like electric school buses and electrification with the boards is the potential, we have to acknowledge just the potential for a Biden administration. And I don't know if you've taken a look at his infrastructure plan. There's a hell of a lot of money in there. And, it's a pipe dream right now. It has to get through Congress, et cetera. But there's a lot of focus on electrification of transportation in general.
Yep.
So the idea of, one bus doesn't make a solution, great, but let's learn about it and let's get to the point where when the next rounds of grants come out, the big ones that could go fleet-wide, you're sort of in a position of knowledge and you've got some infrastructure built. So anyway, that's just food for thought.
Right.
All right. Thank you for that update. More to come. Like I say, I don't think you're going to get to talk to them until well after September.
Yeah.
I think those guys have got there. And the latest thing where they want 3 solutions, 3 distinct opening plans, that's huge.
Yeah.
I don't envy them their jobs right now.
Yep.
So, we have to be patient, but let's keep pressure on a little bit.
Yeah. And we were able to do all the looking into electric school buses without taking up a lot of their time. We wanted at the very beginning, Mike and I got together with, as I said, Neil Sullivan, and didn't want to be out there asking around sort of in the name of Simsbury without their blessing. So they said, great, go ahead, get us the information. So we were, not necessarily speaking for Simsbury, but working on behalf of Simsbury.
Yeah.
And so it was a couple of meetings. So my hope is that even for some of these other things, we can continue to work like that. It's like, make sure they know, hey, are you okay with us coming back to you with information on this? But we won't drag you through lots of meetings right now. We got more important things to do.
It's a good approach, really good approach. All right. Shall we move to the next item? Anybody else got comments on that? All right. Plans for the remainder of 2020. You want to walk through these one at a time?
Yeah. Let's see. Let me pull up my
So
list.
the first one's residential efficiency campaign. This is something I've been flogging for years. It's like a 10-to-1 bang for the buck for efficiency. Not as sexy as solar panels on the roof. Not as much money flying around for people to put insulation in their houses and replace their windows. And yet, from an entity from like a zero carbon kind of carbon bang for the buck, it's huge. So that said, and I would love any update that you have. Again, because of COVID, I don't see that we're going to make a lot of progress on this. I'd have some electrical work done, and I got to tell you, I was pretty reticent to have somebody come into my house.
Yep.
So I guess I think we should keep it on the plan because I don't want to lose that. But yeah. Not sure about that one.
The model here is fairly simple. That basically it's an outreach, it's promotion, it's education. One of the reasons we wanted to do it is I think people know the copay for the home energy solutions audits is down to $75. So as you said, Bob, this is a no-brainer and really high return on investment.
Yeah.
And we, if you look at our Clean Energy Communities dashboard, we rank pretty well in terms of percentage of towns that have done percentage of residents that have done a home energy solutions audit. But there's still, I forget the number, but I think somewhere around 20 to 30%. So a lot of people still haven't done audits and would benefit heavily from them. So, there are good examples of how other towns have done this. We struggled to get a contact to work with before COVID. We struggled to find somebody at Eversource to work with us.
Yeah.
You kind of need somebody to.
Well,
ahead,
I was just going to say that we spoke when we were planning the presentations for the library. That's when we were researching it, and there wasn't really anybody we were able to connect with for that to do a presentation. But because I'm thinking we could still do the presentations, like maybe they can't have somebody come in and actually do the audit, but we could have a webinar with someone from Eversource. We could have a webinar with Efficiency for All with Letitia Cologne, because we were going to bring her back in again. So that's that's two. And I think there was another film that we were talking about as well, Mark, as a presentation. Aside from the fantastic fungi one that I wanted to do, but I think you had another one in mind as well.
Yep, I can't remember at this point. But yeah.
I do remember there being a film, but
yeah. And then we were talking also about Sierra Club Ready for 100. We touched on that. I don't know if that was something. I'm probably going to say this wrong. Andropathy. Was that the film?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Am I saying it correctly?
I remember talking about that. I can't remember whether we decided we wanted to move forward on that. It's not new. It's just,
2016 is what you said.
Yeah, it's been around a while. It's kind of a classic, I think.
Yeah.
Let's I think it's to Bob's suggestion, let's go through them sort of one by one. So on the efficiency campaign, I think what I heard you say, Sherry, is we could still do a kind of efficiency campaign light, which is basically a lecture and information session, work through the library.
Yep.
There's no reason not to do something like that, where we could have a couple of speakers, maybe, as you say, maybe Letitia. And then at the end, here's how you go to the website, sign up for a home energy solutions audit. I know that they are back out doing audits. For a while they were shut down.
Okay. So maybe combine Letitia with someone from Eversource.
Yeah. So I think, as we're to go back to this point before, we're trying to work through the library. This could be a topic. This could be a good topic.
Yep.
Okay.
Things that people would want to hear, kind of the general category.
Yep.
Late breaking news. I just heard from Tim. His wife has a late meeting, and he apologizes to the group.
Okay.
He's not coming.
All right.
Okay. All right. Next. Shared solar proposal. Oh, I like this one too. I mean, as I recall, we were talking about dusting off